True, generous feeling is made small account of by some, but here were two natures rendered, the one intolerably acrid, the other despicably savourless for the want of it. Feeling without judgment is a washy draught indeed, but judgment untempered by feeling is too bitter and husky a morsel for human deglutition. So Jane's thinking about the way that Georgiana and Eliza are acting, and they're two extremes, but neither of them really has a healthy approach for life. So Eliza is much too bitter and severe, but then Georgiana's a little bit shallow and frivolous. So neither of them really have an approach to life that Jane fully respects. Jane has figured out something for herself that's really a combination of the two, and kind of balanced with judgment and emotion. It was a wet and windy afternoon. Georgiana had fallen asleep on the sofa over the perusal of a novel. Eliza was gone to attend a Saints' Day service at the new church. For matters of religion, she was a rigid formalist. No weather ever prevented the punctual discharge of what she considered her devotional duties. Fair or foul, she went to church thrice every Sunday, and as often on weekdays as there were prayers. I bethought myself to go upstairs and see how the dying woman sped, who lay there almost unheeded. The very servants paid her but a remittent attention. The hired nurse, being little looked after, would slip out of the room whenever she could. Bessie was faithful, but she had her own family to mind, and could only come occasionally to the hall. I found the sick room unwatched, and as I had expected, no nurse was there. The patient lay still and seemingly lethargic, her livid face sunk in the pillows. The fire was dying in the grate. I renewed the fuel, rearranged the bedclothes, gazed a while on her who could not now gaze on me, and then I moved away to the window. So Mrs. Reed is pretty much unattended at certain times. There's sort of gaps in the people caretaking for her. Georgiana is completely ignoring her mother. Eliza is going to church rather than spend time with her mother who is dying. And it seems that her Christian duties would be better spent by helping the people around her in addition to just attending church and multiple prayer services a day. But Jane is going to see Mrs. Reed, and now no one is really around when Jane goes to visit her this particular afternoon. The rain beat strongly against the panes, the wind blew tempestuously. One lies there, I thought, who will soon be beyond the war of earthly elements. Whither will that spirit, now struggling to quit its material tenement, flit when at length released? In pondering the great mystery, I thought of Helen Burns, recalled her dying words, her faith, her doctrine of the equality of disembodied souls. I was still listening in thought to her well-remembered tones, still picturing her pale and spiritual aspect, her wasted face and sublime gaze as she lay on her placid deathbed, and whispered her longing to be restored to her divine Father's bosom, when a feeble voice murmured from the couch behind, "Who is that?" I knew Mrs. Reed had not spoken for days. Was she reviving? I went up to her. "It is I, Aunt Reed." "Who? I," was her answer. "Who are you?" Looking at me with surprise and a sort of alarm, but still not wildly. "You are quite a stranger to me. Where is Bessie?" "She is at the lodge, Aunt." "Aunt," she repeated. "Who calls me Aunt? You are not one of the Gibsons, and yet I know you. That face, and the eyes and forehead, are quite familiar to me. You are like... why, you are like Jane Eyre." I said nothing. I was afraid of occasioning some shock by declaring my identity. "Yes," said she. "I am afraid it is a mistake. My thoughts deceive me. I wish to see Jane Eyre, and I fancy a likeness where none exists. Besides, in 8 years she must be so changed." I now gently assured her that I was the person she supposed and desired me to be, and seeing that I was understood and that her senses were quite collected, I explained how Bessie had sent her husband to fetch me from Thornfield. So Mrs. Reed seems pretty lucid. She knows what's going on. Jane tells her that she is Jane, so it seems like Mrs. Reed is with it and understands what's happening. "I am very ill, I know," she said ere long. "I was trying to turn myself a few times since, and I find I cannot move a limb. It is as well I should ease my mind before I die. What we think little of in health burdens us at such an hour as the present is to me. Is the nurse here, or is there one in the room but you? Or is there no one in the room but you?" I assured her we were alone. "Well, I have twice done you a wrong which I regret now. One was in breaking the promise which I gave my husband to bring you up as my own child. The other—" She stopped. "After all, it is of no great importance. Perhaps," she murmured to herself, and then I may get better, and to humble myself so to her is painful." She made an effort to alter her position, but failed. Her face changed. She seemed to experience some inward sensation, the precursor, perhaps, of the last pang. "Well, I must get it over. Eternity is before me," I had better tell her. "Go to my dressing case, open it, and take out a letter you will see there." I obeyed her directions. "Read the letter," she said. It was short, and thus conceived. "Madam, will you have the goodness to send me the address of my niece, Jane Eyre, and to tell me how she is? It is my intention to write shortly, and desire her to come to me at Madeira. Providence has blessed my endeavors to secure a competency, and as I am unmarried and childless, I wish to adopt her during my life, and bequeath her at my death whatever I may have to leave. I am, Madam, etc., etc., John Eyre, Madeira." It was dated 3 years back.